Hello and good afternoon, CSI157 Section 841 students at the Anne Arundel Community College Spring 2014 semester. So this video will be the solution set in a tutorial for PacketTracer activity 6.5.1.2. And it's interesting, it shows 6.5.1.2 here, but the actual name of the file was 6.5.2.1. So make sure that you're aware of that. But there's only one PacketTracer activity that's 6.5 and then has 1 and 2 at the end, or 2 and 1. All right, so it's interesting. This activity says that we can click Reset Activity, and it should give us some a fresh start here. And so that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So here's our scenario, and this is probably one of the larger activities that we've done this semester. And the scenario is that your network manager is impressed with your performance and is ready to give you some increased responsibility. Your tasks include configuring basic settings on a router and a switch using the Cisco IOS. You'll then verify your configurations as well as configurations on existing devices by testing end-to-end connectivity. And it says, note, after completing this activity, you can choose to click the Reset Activity button to generate a new set of requirements. And so that's what I just did right there. All right, so here's the addressing table. Okay, and it shows us the IP addresses on the router interfaces. It shows us the Class A switch, the Class B switch, and then the student PCs 1 through 4. So let's come down and take a look at our requirements here and provide the missing information in the addressing table, which is going to be the default gateway setting. And so depending on depending on the switch, Class A, Class B, as well as students 1 through 4, it will depend upon the IP address that's assigned to these these interfaces here. So gig 0. I'm trying to get out of here real quick. Let me try to get edit undo here. Let's undo that and edit undo. Okay, so we've got that hooked back up, so I'm going to click reset again just to make sure that we've got the activity correct. So as you can see, when I click reset, everything here changed. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get into this activity. It shouldn't take too long to complete. So provide the missing information in the addressing table, name the router RTA and the second switch ASW2. You will not be able to access ASW1. Use Cisco as the user exec password for all lines, so that's going to be the console line as well as the VTY, or the commonly referred to as the virtual terminal lines. Use class as the privileged exec password. Encrypt all plaintext passwords. Configure an appropriate banner. Configure addressing for all devices according to the addressing table. And so let's start there. So let's go ahead and knock out the PCs, user 01 through 04. So I'll come over here to 01. And let's see what's on here already. So if I come over to IP configuration, you can see that it's got an address in here that's 128.107.20.25, and sure enough, that is the correct IP address. The subnet mask is also correct, but no default gateway. And again, if you remember from lecture, the default gateway will be this gig 00 interface for the devices that are over on this side of the map, that are the 128.107.20s. And so let's take a look here at what the gig 00 interface should be on router A. And it shows it should be 128.107.20.1. So let's go ahead and set that right now. So we'll pull this guy over here. We'll go to the CLI. We're going to go from user exec into privilege exec. And let's do a quick show run and see what we see. So you'll notice that there's gig 00 and gig 01. They're both shut down. No configuration information. So if I do a show IP interfaces brief, you can also see that they're administratively down. And that's because they're shut down. So when you actually shut it down as the administrator, when you do a show IP interfaces brief, it'll show you that it's down. So let's go ahead and configure both of these interfaces. So we'll go into global config mode. And from there, we're going to go into interface configuration mode. So let's do interface gigabit Ethernet 00 first. And as you can see from our chart at the top, the IP address should be 128.107.20.1. And the subnet mask is a Class C subnet mask. So it's going to be 255.255.255.0. We're going to do a no shut. And you can see that it change the status to up, and I'll put a quick description on there as well. And let's just say that this is the RTA, and what do we have over here? It's just over on the ASW1 side, so we'll do RTA/ASW1 default gateway interface. All right. And now I'm going to go ahead and switch interfaces. We're going to go to gigabit. Sorry about that. So we'll get out of this here, and then we'll go to interface gigabit Ethernet 0/1 and get that guy configured. Okay, so that's going to be IP address, and it's going to be 128.107.30.1 and class C subnet mask again. We'll do a no shut, at which point we're told the interface is up, and we'll put a quick description on there. And let me see if I can just go ahead and cut and paste and then make a change. No cut and paste. All right. So I'll go ahead and put in, make sure we get something similar here. So ASW2, so it's going to be RTA/ASW2 default gateway interface. Okay, so we'll do an in. I'm going to write mem to save my configuration. And, oh, I just noticed we can set the host name as well. So we'll set it to RTA, which is what it was asking for. So we'll do an, whoops. So I'll do end, and then write mem again real quick here. We'll do a show run. As you can see, the host name is now set to RTA for router A. And let's take a look at our interfaces. So here we go. We've got gig 00 is configured, right, for the 128.107.20.0/24 network, right? And so the default gateway address will be 20.1. And over here for the ASW2 network, it's going to be 107.30. And the default gateway is 128.107.30.1. Okay, so the default gateway, these are the default gateway addresses that would be entered in over here. Again, for the switches, the same thing, but we're going to talk about these PCs first here, user 01, 02, 03, and 04. So for user 01 and 02 on this side, right, their default gateway would be 128.107.20.1. So let's go ahead and pull up PC1 again. And now we have that information that we need. So we'll go 128.107.20.1. All right, and so we'll shut that down. Let's get a command prompt up. And let me see if I can ping my default gateway. So 128.107.20.1. All right, and so there it goes. And I've actually got a successful ping there, right? If I ping it again, we're good to go. Okay, so I can ping there. Let me check user 2. And I'm also going to try to ping back and forth between PC1 and PC2. So the configuration is going to be the same for the default gateway. Will be 128.107.20.1. And now I'll close that down, and let's see if we can ping 128.107.20.1. And sure enough, we can ping our default gateway. Now, let's see if I can ping the other PC. So the first PC would be 20.25. All right, so I can ping over. I can ping from user 2 through the switch over to user 1. And let me see if I can ping from user 1 over to user 2, which would be right here, 20.30. So let's try that, 20.30. All right, so the PCs can now both ping each other. They can also ping the default gateway. And so that's good news. So let's see what else we've got going on here. All right, so provide the missing information in the addressing table, which would be our default gateway information. Name the router, router A, and the second switch, ASW2. So let's take care of that. Let's pull this guy up. Let's see what name he has in here. If it defaults to switch, which it does, we'll go from user exec mode into privilege exec mode. From privilege exec into global config, where we'll enter the hostname command in ASW-2. All right, and so there's the name for that switch. So I'll end it. I'll do a write mem. Okay, and so we've taken care of that step. Use Cisco as the exec password for all lines. All right, so over on the router, we'll do that first. So I'll do from privilege exec to global config into line mode. So we'll do line con 0. Password will be Cisco. Is that what it was asking for? I'll make sure I get this right. Use Cisco as the user exec password for all lines. Yep, on the login. And then we'll change to line VTY 0 through 15. and we'll do the same thing. Password Cisco, login. All right, and so we'll exit out. So now we've set for the console line as well as the VTY lines. The password is now Cisco. It says use class as the privileged exec password. So let me go ahead and do enable secret, and then do the question mark. So we're going to say 0 is going to be an unencrypted password that follows, and so we'll name it class. All right. And the next thing, the next step says encrypt all plaintext passwords. So we're going to do the service password encryption command, and that's going to encrypt all of our passwords. We're going to configure an appropriate banner MOTD, and I like to use the $sign as my character that indicates that the message is over with. And this says any unauthorized access is not allowed. So we'll leave that just like that with a $sign. Okay. And then configure addressing for all devices according to the addressing table. We're kind of working our way through that still. Document interfaces with descriptions, including ASW2 VLAN 1 interface. And so we've done that for the router interface. So let me do an end and a write mem. We've done that here for the router interface. Let me pull AS2 back up because we've still got some configuration information to do here. So if I do a show run, you can see we've got multiple fast Ethernet interfaces, some gigabit internet interfaces. So let's take a step back, and we'll go back up to setting the Cisco as the user exec password. So enable secret, and we're going to go ahead and set that to Cisco. Oops, sorry, probably 0. Yep. Enable password, or I'm sorry, enable secret 0 Cisco. And on the oh, I apologize. So it's going to be enable password 0 class as the privilege exec password. So if I were to exit out and exit out again, from here to get into the enable mode, I need to enter the password class. But I think I set it as Cisco. Yeah, I did. So I need to go ahead and change that. It was going a little too fast. All right, so we're back in global config mode, and I am going to put in here enable secret 0, and it should be class. And let me make sure that that's it, and it is. So let's see if that works. And let's go exit. So I'll try to log in. I'm in user exec mode. I'm going to transition to privilege exec. I get the password class. Okay, so that's working. All right. So the privilege exec password is set. Now we want to work on the line. So we'll go to line configuration mode. I'm going to work on the console line first. And the password should be Cisco. And that's for the login. And then line VTY 0 to 15. And the password will be Cisco. And that will be when you log in. And so that's set. So now we want to do the service. Whoops. Let me exit out. Go back out of the line configuration mode back to global config, where I can enter in the service password encryption command. And that's going to encrypt all plaintext passwords. We're going to put a banner in, banner MOTD with a $sign. And I'll say any, try to keep it consistent, any unauthorized access is not allowed. And I end that with a $sign. Okay. And then configure addressing for all devices according to the addressing table. Document interfaces with descriptions, including the VLAN 1 interface. So now I'm going to go into interface VLAN 1. I'm going to put a description in here. We'll just say VLAN 1 interface, which is shut down. Oh, shut down. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to save my configuration with a write mem. Now it wants to verify connectivity between all devices. But before we do that, we've got to go ahead and work with these two PCs over here real quick. So I'll pull this guy down over here. We'll go to the desktop because he does not have a default gateway set. And we want to make sure we set his default gateway to 128.107.30.1. All right. And so let's check with this guy here real quick. Let's see. Can I ping 128.107.30.1? All right, so I can ping the default gateway interface. That works perfect. So we'll shut down user 3. We'll pull up user 4. We're going to want to do the same thing here. Add that default gateway. which is going to be 128.107.20. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, that's interesting. Okay, so it shows 128.107.20.30, but it should be, oops, it should be 30.30. So it looks like the IP address here is wrong. So now we'll put that right IP address in here, 127.107 or 128.107.30.1. And the IP address matches as well. So I'm going to want to recheck the other PCs real quick. So 128.107.30.1, and I can ping the gateway. Let me see if I can ping 30.25, which is the other PC, user 3 PC. So that was interesting that the user 4 PC had the wrong IP address entered for it. Let's double check this guy. Yep, 30.25, so that's correct for user 3. Let's double check these guys, make sure it's 20.25. Yep, 107.20.25, that's correct. And this guy should be correct as well. 30.25. Aha. He was not correct. So the IP address for user 2 is, oh, I'm sorry, this was correct. I was looking at the wrong address above. Yeah, so user 2 is correct, 20.30. Okay, so we're good to go. All right, so now that we've got the default gateway entered in for each of these guys, and this is a directly connected subnet, right? And that's a directly connected subnet. So the router knows about both of those subnets. If you do a show IP route, you'll see that it shows 128.107.0.0/16 is variably subnetted. It's class B address, but we're applying class C subnet masks. And so you can see connected and local. So it knows about these two networks, or about that network, one network, I should say. And it also knows about the 128.107.30.0 network as well. So let's see if from the router, can I ping 128.107.30. Or actually we'll start with .20. .20. And is it 25 for the user PC1. So I can ping the PC, right? So we're good. Can I ping 20.30? I can. Can I ping 30.25? I can. Can I ping 30.30? So we're good. All right, now let's check, see where we're at here. Let's do a quick check of the results, see what the assessment items look like. All right, so it looks like it's going to want VLAN 1 to be configured, and so there's no default gateway statement on AS2, but I think everything else looks good. So as you can see here, everything else is good, right? But we want to go ahead and configure VLAN 1 with an IP address and subnet mask, and we want to make sure that we have a default gateway statement on ASW2 because we're about to try to ping across with PCs. So now we can't access ASW1 says configure is locked, but we are going to configure ASW2. And if you look here, the IP address information that needs to be assigned to VLAN 1 is right there. All right, so let's pull up ASW2. And I'm going to do from privilege exec into global config into interface configuration mode to configure VLAN 1. And so we're going to do a no shut. I'm going to do an IP address. And the IP address is going to be 128.107. Where are we at here? .30.15. And the subnet mask, again, is a class C subnet mask, 255.255.255.0, also referred to as a /24. And we've already placed our description on there, and we've already done the no shut command. So from here, I can go ahead and type in end with the right mem. And now, let me see if I can ping that IP address from one of the PCs. So can I ping 128.107.30.15, which is VLAN 1 on the PC. And you can see the first request timed out because it had to populate the ARP cache, and then we get a response back and everything is working. So I can ping that address as well. So if I do a quick show run, you can see the host name was set, the passwords are encrypted, VLAN 1 is set up with the interface. We've got the message of the day. We've also set up the passwords on the different console and terminal lines. So let's shut that down. I think we've got one last thing that we need to do. Let's check results. I believe it's the default gateway. And sure enough, it is. So it's looking for default gateway configuration, which is this step right here. And that's the final step that we have, I believe. It is the final step that we have. All right, so let's close this guy out. And the default gateway statement for the switch, for any traffic generated from the switch, will set the default gateway to come to the router, just like we did the PCs. So we're going to go from privilege exec into global config mode. So, oops, sorry about that, IP, default gateway, and then we follow up with an IP address. So we know our IP subnet on this side is 128.107.30.1, and that's it. And so the IP default gateway has been set. I'll do a write mem, and then let's come back over here. Let's check our results just to make sure. Whoops. So I'll shut that guy down. And it says we've successfully completed. We've got 100 out of 100. All 29 items have been done, right? So I can close this out, and we've got connectivity. And let's see what our connectivity looks like if I try to go from one PC now across to another PC. And it should work without any problem. So if I'm on PC 1, I'm going to try to ping over to PC number, and let me slide this just a little bit over here. So if I'm on user 01 PC, I'm going to try to ping user 3, 30.25, and it works without any problems at all. And let's try to ping user 04 at 30.30, and there you go. And so then I'll try the same thing from user 2. And let's try to ping 128.107.30.25, and that works great. And we'll do 30.30. And again, successful pings. And for completeness, we'll check from user 3. Ping 128.107.20.25. And as you would expect, it's going to work without any problems. And then we're going to come back to 20.30. All right. So again, this has been PacketTracer activity 6.5.1.2. But you will see, if I try to open it, I'm almost positive. We'll go ahead and say, sure, we'll lose that work. That's okay. If you look, even though it says, it does say 6.5.1.2, and I believe that our text may show 6.5.2.1, but this is the activity right here. 6512 is the PacketTracer file. All right, I hope this tutorial has been helpful, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will see you all on Tuesday evening. Have a great night.